Day 10. Fear factor. I was very much afraid, but I said to the king, Nehemiah 2:2-3. Take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. Martin Luther King Jr. Money never made a man happy yet, nor will it. The more a man has, the more he wants. Instead of filling a vacuum, it makes one. Ben Franklin. Upon hearing of the seemingly insurmountable task that would be his charge, Nehemiah wept. Now, this is not something you see a man do very often, especially one with Nehemiah's power. Don't confuse his vulnerability with weakness. He was a real man about to face a hopeless and very real situation, humanly speaking. He was going to ask the king to grant him a leave of absence for an indefinite amount of time, and to give him letters for materials and safety. Imagine going to your boss with these requests. You would labor over every word for days, painstakingly working up the courage to breach the subject. You would probably imagine an entire dialogue filling in your boss's responses. I really wish I could, but, or I really want to, believe me, but budget constraints prevent me from doing it. I'm sure you understand. Or, if you're an optimist, you're a valuable member of the team and a sharp dresser too to boot, but the answer is still no. Nehemiah walked into the throne room, head in hands, shaking, physically sick. He took the wine, tasted it with quivering lips, and brought it over to the king. With his gaze fixed on the floor, shoulders drooping, Nehemiah opened his mouth and raised his sweaty palms toward the king to plead for his people. You can probably relate to Nehemiah's demeanor. Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, it did. Interest, penalties, late charges, car payments, daycare, the IRS wants more. Sneakers are more expensive this year than last. And let's not even talk about gas prices. Is there hope? Or have you already raised the white flag in surrender? Not to God, but to debt. And the irrefutable fact that you will never, ever be out of it. You will never buy a car with cash, not even a clunker. At this rate, you will have to sell your house for far much less than it is worth, just to barely get out of debt. And to add insult to injury, you will never have enough to retire. As a matter of fact, you are worth more dead than alive. You have received your death sentence, and all you can do is resign yourself to it. When we face impossible odds that even a first grader with ADD could focus on long enough to tell you to run, you know it's bad, and you need a savior. That is where faith comes in, being absolutely sure of what we hope for and absolutely certain of what we do not see. The same faith that enables mere mortals to do great things can only come from God, and it shines out every time ordinary people follow Him through impossible situations, much like the one you're facing right now. Nehemiah knew the odds, but faced his giant. He knew God wanted him to be the person to save a city, but facing his boss seemed too difficult. Despite his fear, he stepped forward, and God used him, even in his anxious state, just like God is going to use you, even though you are fearful. Though it may be hard to see sometimes, God is bigger than any king, principality, or power. He is bigger than the real estate market, bigger than the IRS, bigger than the stock market. It is only when we realize how small and insignificant the powers of this world are that we can face them without trepidation. C.S. Lewis recognized this. If you read history, you will find that the Christians who did most for the present world were precisely those who thought most of the next. It is since Christians have largely ceased to think of the other world that they have become so ineffective in this. What is it you want? Are you afraid to ask at this point because your situation is totally different from Nehemiah's? Yours is self-inflicted, and as a result, you could never ask God to help, to intervene, to move in the heart of your boss or your creditor or your landlord. We just don't deserve it. None of us do. It is time now to upgrade. It is a crazy, lopsided deal He is offering. He gets all the praise and glory, and we get all the joy and peace. Let's accept it.